Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Ursula Bielski. If you're new here, I am a 35-year veteran paranormal investigator, folklorist, historian, and lifelong Catholic. And on this channel, we look at everything in the world of the supernatural from a Catholic perspective. And today I want to share with you this crazy thing. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this part of our American folk culture, but I never have, being a folklorist for all of these years. I never encountered this story. Well, last New Year's Eve, this past New Year's Eve is one of my best friend Johnny Couture's birthdays, and some of you may know him. And he lives in Detroit, and every birthday, every New Year's Eve, he comes to Chicago to celebrate, goes to Buddy Guy's, goes to the comic book shops, does all kinds of fun stuff. And he always has breakfast with me on his birthday. So this past New Year's Eve, I met Johnny downtown, and we were having some breakfast in this little French bakery in the Loop. And during our conversation, he starts telling me about something called the Nain Rouge, and I was absolutely fascinated by this story. And there's a big event coming up this weekend in Detroit that celebrates sort of the Nain Rouge. So I wanted to tell you all about it today, and I hope that you'll find this story as interesting as I did. And without further ado, check it out. The Nain Rouge, which means red dwarf in French, is also called the Demon of the Strait, and it's a legendary creature of the Detroit, Michigan area whose appearance is said to prognosticate misfortune for anyone who sees it. The origins of the Nain Rouge go back to the French settlement of Detroit. The story of this red dwarf is supposed to derive from Norman French tales of the lutin, which is a type of hobgoblin, along with Native American legends of an impish offspring of the stone god. According to many accounts surrounding the figure, Detroit's founder, Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac, was told by a fortune teller to appease the Nain Rouge. But upon encountering the creature, instead he smacked it with his cane and shouted, "Get out of my way, you red imp!" As a consequence, a string of bad luck befell Cadillac. He was charged with abuse of power and reassigned to Louisiana, later returning to France, where he was briefly imprisoned and eventually lost his entire fortune. The first appearance of the Nain Rouge was in Caroline Watson Hamlin's 1883 book, Legends of Detroit. In this book, she described the creature as a dwarf, red in the face with a bright, glistening eye. Instead of burning, it froze. Instead of possessing depth, emitted a cold gleam like the reflection from a polished surface, bewildering and dazzling all who came within its focus. Others have described the dwarf as with a grinning mouth displaying sharp, pointed teeth. Still other accounts describe the Nain Rouge as a small creature with red or black fur covering an animalistic body, but with the face of an old man with blazing red eyes and rotten teeth. There are no records that indicate the legend of the Nain Rouge existed in the 18th century when Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac was an authority in Detroit and when he reportedly had his unfortunate run-in with the legendary creature. The earliest record, Hamlin's book, wasn't published until 1883, 180 years after Cadillac was said to have been cursed by the Red Dwarf. Legend holds that the Nain Rouge's appearance would presage terrible events for the city. The creature is said to have appeared on July 30th, 1763, before the Battle of Bloody Run, where 58 British soldiers were killed by Native Americans from Chief Pontiac's Ottawa tribe. Supposedly, the Nain Rouge danced among the corpses on the banks of the Detroit River after that battle, and the river ran red with blood. According to the tale, all the misfortunes of Governor and General William Hull leading to the surrender of Detroit in the War of 1812 are blamed on the Nain Rouge. In more recent times, 2 utility workers claim to have seen the creature just before the 1967 Detroit riots, and supposedly it was also seen before an ice storm in 1976. Today, the Nain Rouge is a vital part of Detroit culture and folklore. The Detroit Beer Company, a brew pub in downtown Detroit, has its signature brew as a Detroit dwarf lager named in honor of the Nain Rouge. In 2015, Woodbury Wine, a distributor and wholesaler of the wines and Kindred Vines Import Company, introduced Nain Rouge Red, a French red wine blend named after the Red Dwarf. Each spring, Detroit holds a costume community parade called the Marche de Nain Rouge, in which the creature is traditionally chased out of the city by revelers. At the conclusion of the parade, an effigy of the Nain Rouge is destroyed, thus banishing the evil spirit from the city for another year. According to tradition, parade participants are encouraged to wear different costumes each year so that when the Nain Rouge next returns to enact vengeance, he will not recognize those who ousted him from the city the year before.